Hi, everybody, and welcome to session number 6. And like I just said a moment ago, session number 6 is going to be a big one because, well, two reasons. One, we have the suffix pronouns, which is a key piece of grammar in late Egyptian or in any form of Egyptian. And second, we're going to make our first foray into verbs. The first present and infinitives used in the first present. So that should be getting us a whole step closer to reading actual texts. And yeah, I'm hoping to get through all of this today. We'll also go over the homework. Thanks so much to everybody who sent it in. We'll go over it briefly to make sure we have like all questions answered that may have come up. And yeah, with that, let me just dive right in. In terms of new signs, hang on, let me make this a bit smaller. In terms of new signs, wait, can you guys still see me?
Yeah, we can. I can. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. All right. So yeah, in terms of new signs, I don't have much for this call. We can work with what we had before. Quick reminder on a few of the things that have come up before. GM, GEM, for example, in the common word to find. There may be another J here at the end. This is it has a third week radical, so it should be gemi actually. In Coptic, in Sahidic at least, it becomes kshine. A lot of K sounds become ksh. So that's the word to find. Then the I can stand for the word, of course, for the word I itself, but also for the very common verb to do. In the infinitive, that would be irit. Normally the T goes underneath the ir, but I wasn't able to write it this way without using J-sesh, so I put it after. In Coptic, this still lives on as ire, and it means to do or to make. It's a very common verb, of course, like in all languages, to do and to make. Another common verb is the word, well, the root is D, the infinitive is did, with a little t, and that's basically what this glyph is used for, DJ. In Coptic, this lives on as T, to give. Next one, the next verb would be, or let's put it this way, next sign, the little nu jar with the walking legs, commonly used in the word ini, to bring. Lives in Coptic as ine, also very common. Then I also put two words in here which are not sound signs, but which we'll need today. One is the Horus word on a standard, and this is used at the end of words as a determinative to indicate divine, a god. And for example, here I have it in the word for Horus. Living on in Coptic is Hor. And of course, from Greek, we also know how it is pronounced. So that's Hor at this stage, or a little bit earlier, probably. I'm guessing that would be an A sound before the Canaanite vowel shift. In any case, this one is also, this comes at the end of the name of any god. It can be used as the first person singular sign if a god is speaking as well. It's also lovingly referred to as the bird on a stick, if you want to be a bit irreverent there. And finally, I have the word, well, not the word, the sign for an ear, that's a cow's ear. It's used as a determinative in words related, for example, to ear, deaf, hearing, very common in the word sejim, to hear, which lives on as sotem in Coptic. It means to hear still. Yeah, any questions on any of those?
I have one doubt earlier, Shailesh here.
Hey, Shalish, how's it going today? Sorry,
Yeah,
what did
fine,
you
thanks.
say?
Yeah, the question was the sign for God, the second last one, in which, just a minute, this particular, can you see this red sign?
Yeah, the horse bird, you just circled it, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. How does this represent H character? I didn't get that
Okay.
part.
You're right. I used a word to explain a new sign with a sign I hadn't explained yet. This is essentially used for Horus. It just stands for HR together.
Okay,
Good
got it.
catch.
So it is a news. Okay, got it. Thank you.
No, thanks for pointing it out. You're right. I missed that one. We didn't have that yet. Good point. So this one is just emphatic H and R. So the whole thing. And then you put the falcon on a stick or the bird on a stick as an indicator that this is the divine name Horus and not, I don't know, any other kind of HR. All right. Any other questions on this one?
And just one, Middle Egyptian D, right, also has another spelling, right?
Yes,
Is
it
it
does.
the same with late Egyptian?
Oh boy. I think in the infinitive, you normally find it like this, but you mean the one with the bread loaf, right? That looks like the triangular spelling with a little pyramid? Or do you mean the verb forms that have an extra R in it?
With the R, exactly. That's what I mean, yeah.
Right. Let's park
Italy.
that a bit, because that I think depends on the grammatical form, but you're right. This is a highly irregular verb, which has lots of different forms. Good point.
Okay.
All right, let me jump right in then. We're going to get to verbs in the second half of this session. Before that, I wanted to quickly cover the suffix pronouns. I smuggled them into the homework, and then I thought, well, you know what? They're important enough for people who watch this later. Let's go over them together. So here are all the different suffix pronouns. There are quite a few of them that you'll encounter glued at the end of words in Late Egyptian, just like in Middle Egyptian. What are they used for? They have a ton of uses. One common one is to indicate the possessor. So if I want to make I, it, into my, your, his, I just glue a suffix pronoun at the end. So that would become irtif. Now, that is true for a lot of words in Middle Egyptian. You can just basically make father into my father by putting the suffix pronoun for the first singular, and the same for my house or my chariot or whatever it be. In Late Egyptian, you only do this for body parts. Or I think that's at least the most common use. There may be a few other words, but generally you use a different technique. You use the so-called possessive articles. What you do here is you take the demonstratives you already know, pi, tai, nai, and you glue the suffix pronoun at the end of the demonstrative. So pi becomes paif, and that basically means his. So if I wanted to say his father, it would be paif it. If I wanted to say his house, it would be paif per, etc. In Middle Egyptian, you could say itef, just like here, or peref for his house and his father, respectively. But in Late Egyptian, you don't do that anymore. Generally, you use the possessive articles apart from things that are very closely related to your person, like, for example, body parts like your eyes, your hands, your ears, your legs, or also things like, for example, your name. It is not Pike Rin, not your name like this, like you would in Coptic, but it's actually still Rinek, your name with the suffix pronoun at the end. So that's one very common use for the suffix pronouns. But there's more. You can glue them onto prepositions. So for example, if you glue an F afterwards, it becomes imof in Coptic, imef in Egyptian, and there would be in him, in it. Same with khir. Kharaf would be upon him or upon it. And it still does the same thing in Coptic, he and kharof. You can see that the phonological structure, phonetic structure may change. Consonants that fall off at the end can come out again when you put the suffix pronoun on. And if you're used to any other Afroasiatic languages, this is very common. I mean, that happens, say, for example, in, I think, same way, in Semitic languages, for example. Now, what else can I tell you about it? It's also the same as in Middle Egyptian. Only thing to add, maybe some of the spellings change of these prepositions in Late Egyptian, but we'll get to that. Few more uses of what you can do with the suffix pronoun. You can use it to specify the direct object after an infinitive. So gemi, or in the infinitive gemit, is to find. And then if you want to say to find him, you just put that F for him or he at the end. So becomes gemtuf. They write it with an extra W just to indicate that that T is really pronounced. So gemtuf is to find him. You can also use them to specify the subject in certain verb forms. You don't do it in the normal present tense like you would in Middle Egyptian, but you do it, for example, for the prospective and for the past tense. So gemaf in late Egyptian is either prospective, may he find, or past tense, he found. The verb itself looks the same. You can normally tell from context which one is which. We know that they're two separate verb forms, but from the spelling, you can't tell directly which it is. And then finally, you can also use the suffix pronouns to make more pronouns. Like, for example, in nominal sentences, if you want to say, if like, I am so-and-so or something, you use a separate type of pronoun. And for example, here's the one for the third person singular, intof or intef. And it's really spelled with an extra M in late Egyptian. That's not a typo here. That's the standard spelling. They add something probably to indicate that there's an extra syllable in front. It's not that it was pronounced like mintof or tof or something. It was intef all the time, but they add that extra little M in front. Okay, that was a super fast recap of how the suffix pronouns work. So lots of different uses. Like I said, in Semitic languages, for example, they're used in a very similar way. Yeah, let's see. I think next we should cover how these are actually formed. And that's comparatively easy. I have them here by like first, second, and third person, male and female, and singular versus plural. So let me go over that real quick. So for the first person singular and plural, we don't distinguish the gender. So in the spoken language, it's the same endings. It's a J sound for the first singular. And for the plural, it's simply an N that you add at the end of the word. So if I use my example from a moment ago again, like for example, name, Ren. So Reni would be my name, and Renen would be your name. You just glue it on at the end. The second person, if you look at related languages, Afroasiatic languages, you see that that was essentially K-based. And it's still the K for you, masculine singular. So Renek would be your name if speaking to a man. For female, it's more complicated. There was a K originally, but it had an I sound after it, so it became a ch in earlier Egyptian. In later Egyptian, it becomes a T, a final T at the end of the word. And then eventually that falls away, and all that's left over is a consonant. Is a vowel. So the way you find that spelled is either with the same determinative as for the first person, singular, or you find it simply spelled with a T that probably wasn't pronounced though anymore. So the way I like to transcribe it is like a T in parentheses to indicate that, yep, that there was an ending there, but at this point in time, it's probably just a vowel sound. In the plural, so again, you glue an N on for the plural, and that becomes chin, and then later tin, and that's how you find it in late Egyptian. It's basically T, N, and then plural strokes. Let's see, what else? Third person singular. From related languages, you can see that that's originally S-based. However, something weird happened phonetically with the third person masculine. It becomes an F. In the female, it's still an S. This is how it's spelled in Middle Egyptian. In late Egyptian, they often glue that extra T on, even though it's not pronounced. The whole thing is probably pronounced S or S. And then in the plural, again, you have the N ending. That's the classical language version, sen. And I misspelled that here. I apologize. That should be an N, sen. But more commonly in late Egyptian, you'll just find U instead of that, a W with plural strokes. This is the far more common form, and it survives into Coptic. This one doesn't. So this is more classical. This is more modern. Okay, one thing I didn't say, in the beginning I said it's basically like a J or I sound for the first person. Depending on whether it's a male speaker or a female speaker, you would use either this or that determinative. And if it's a deity speaking, then you'll find the bird on a stick as an indicator. Could be some other determinatives as well. I don't think you find the reed leaf anymore, as you would in earlier Egyptian, where sometimes you just spell it out phonetically. I don't think I've seen that yet in late Egyptian. Then again, maybe I just haven't seen enough. But normally it's one of those determinatives. Okay, I'll park here for a moment. Are there any questions on this one? I went through this quite quickly.
Yes, on the first person one, when you say J, you mean the E sound, don't you?
Right, right.
Yeah, because J sounds like J, which is yeah.
No, thank you for bringing it out. Bringing it up. I was thinking about that as I was saying it. Unfortunately, the way that we name the letters in English is not really ideal, because J suggests something very different. So the way I mean, it's just like for example, in Hebrew, that would just be, again, English. I would say it would be an I sound, but in reality, it's an E, right? So can I make an example? Or do we have any fluent Hebrew speakers here? How would you say?
Isn't the J just like from the German yod?
It's like a yod, exactly. It's like sort of like a yod sound. You're right. That's at least a bit better. You're right. So it's a yod sound. And we'll see in a moment how that's reflected in Coptic when I'll do an actual example. So yeah, great call out. Thank you. Any other questions on the suffix pronouns? If not, let me do an example. Or actually, you should have this chart from the homework, so I can't have it on the screen, but what I wanted to do is, if somebody could walk me through real quick what it should be on each of these. Like, for example, if I wanted to say my hand, what would go here? Let me make sure I have the right keyboard selected. Okay. So how would I say deret is hand, becomes tore in Coptic. How would I say my hand in good late Egyptian or Middle Egyptian? It's the same.
Dereti.
Dereti.
I think I heard an E. That's right. I'll do the whatchamacallit, the transcription first, and then I'll add the hieroglyphs in a moment, just so I don't have to change keyboards all the time. And in Coptic, that's simply dot. So what happens is it must have been something like doti or doti, and then the R disappears, and the final vowel goes away, but the T is preserved, which normally would fall off. So that's how I can still tell it's first person my hand. Dore is hand, dot is my hand in Coptic. So you can see how that must have worked out in the earlier language. All right, great. Then our hand. Let's assume that's not our hands, but our hand. Don't force our hand or something like that. What would that be?
Dereten.
That's right, Dotan. So you just glue an N on. That's right. And you see it in Coptic as well. Let's do the second person. Maybe one person could take all three of them. So masculine, your hand, speaking to a man.
Deretik.
That's right. And then Totek in Coptic, so you can still see how that works. Now comes the tricky.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, I'm on the second female.
Right.
What do you think that is?
The
Second, yes, sir.
Deretet, something like that.
That's
And
right.
you
That's a T.
write it different when you say it, but yeah.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's hard to do when you don't write it. Normally, we're not used to it. But you can see it's Dorte in Coptic, so it must have been Darte in late Egyptian. And then let's do the plural.
The Dereteten.
However, that worked with the vowels, but yeah. There's something happens in Coptic where they use a different pronoun for the second plural. You would expect doten, but it's actually dote uten. Take that as an exception. That's just the way it is. Cool. Thanks, Gabriele.
Can I
Yes,
ask
sir.
one question? Yeah, in the Roman script, you have mentioned for second person male, second person female, and plural as well. But at the same time, I could see the Egyptian characters are just mentioning the same one and the same hieroglyphs.
You're right.
Again, I'm
What I'm going to do is I'm going to add those in a moment. I just didn't want to switch
okay.
keyboards all the time. You'll see it in a moment.
Okay, okay, got it, got it.
Got it. Okay. Want to do the third person? Any volunteers for the third one?
I mean,
All right, go for it.
Me? Okay.
Sure.
Jared F or
That's right.
Jared F. Jared S.
That's right. And then for the third plural, you have two options for there.
Actually, in Middle Egyptian, Jared San.
That's right. That's the older one. The new one.
In late Egyptian, Jared too.
You got
Actually, yeah, after maybe Amarna period. Yeah,
That's
Jared
yeah.
too.
All right. Thank you very much, Mustafa. 100% correct. Let's take a look at how that's actually spelled in hieroglyphs. And I have that prepared here. So basically for the first person, you just add the determinative, either for man or female, depending on what it is. The plural, you just spell phonetically, N and the plural strokes. Then for the second person, K, interestingly, it's not ch anymore. Typically, it's just the same B1 woman that you would use for the first one. So there's some confusion, some potential for confusion here. For 10 in the plural, it's just T, N, and plural strokes. Very easy. F, again, as you would expect, for the third person, his hand. For her, in Middle Egyptian, you would just write S, but in Late Egyptian, you actually add an extra T, which is silent. And then, like Mustafa just said, it could be sen for there, if you're speaking more classical Late Egyptian, or u if you're using the more modern variant of the language. And that's what survives into Coptic as do. So yeah, that's in a nutshell how it works with the suffix pronouns on those few words that can still take suffix pronouns as a possessive. Any questions on this one? If not, let me show you how it's normally done in Late Egyptian. So now we're coming to more the topic of our session here. In Late Egyptian, the normal way to express possessions is to put the possessive article in front. So instead of saying et, my father, in Middle Egyptian, you basically put pai it. Same for female. Pai it again, just with a different determinative. In the plural, pain it, our father, becomes penyot in Coptic. And the same for the other person. So your father, when speaking to a man, would be paik it or pekyot in Coptic. This here must be something like pai, originally pait, but the T falls off, pait again. So it's spelled the same way. Pronounced puyot in Coptic, so there must have been a difference phonetically. Otherwise, they would have not ended up on different vowels. And plural, petenyot or paitenyot, and so on. Paif it or pefyot, pais it or pesyot, payu it or peuyot. I'm not sure if I've seen paisen. I don't think it's really common. And I made a mistake here. This should have plural strokes, of course. Sorry. Z3. There you go. That looks better. Cool.
Aurelio,
Yes,
it
sir.
means father, right?
It is father. Oh, yeah, I didn't put that on you. So this one would be their father. So my father. Sorry about that. This would be my father. This would be our father. This would be your father speaking to a man. This would be speaking to a woman, your father. Your father speaking to multiple people. That's why in the previous page I had thy and your, just to indicate that these are the forms when talking to a singular person, and this is for plural. And then here you have his father, her father, and their father. And it works the same way with female nouns. Just in that case, you have to use the female possessive article. So it becomes basically tai, tain, Tyke, Tite, Titan, Typh, Tice, and Tyu. And I'm not sure why there's an N here. Geez, guys, sorry. Lots of tables in this one and lots of typos. So the dangers of copy paste. So their mother, for example, would be Tayu Mao, and that should say Mao. Okay, I have a lot to fix before I send this out. My bad, apologies. But I'm hoping everybody can still follow. This, of course, everywhere shouldn't say father, but this should all say mother. You know what? I'll fix the rest after the session, but you get the picture. So Thais Mao would be her mother, Taif Mao would be his mother, and Tayu Mao would be their mother. So that can get, I'll be honest, kind of confusing in the beginning, because you have to think about two genders now and two numbers. Namely, one is the person that you're talking to, and one is the gender of the noun. So the way you want to think about that is, if you think about how to say, for example, their mother, well, if you were to say the mother, it would be Tamut. And if you then want to make it there, you have to glue that the their part onto the article or demonstrative. So it becomes Tayu Mut. So the first gender reflects the gender of the noun that you're talking about, and the rest is in the suffix, essentially. So that takes a bit of getting used to. Because in English, for example, when we say his mother or her mother, we start with the male-female distinction, basically his and her, right? In Egyptian, it works a little bit differently. That's basically the suffix part at the end of the possessive article. And this is also true for the plurals. So if you wanted to say, for example, my brothers, you have to use the plural, nai, and then you put that in front of basically the plural word for brothers. I hope that makes some sense. I'll pause again.
It's a lot to take in. If I hadn't done Coptic, I'd find this completely impossible. And the other thing is, just in case someone's watching this, but edit me out. What is interesting is that the transliteration is so different that I'm having to learn the transliteration in order to make the sounds, as well as learning the hieroglyphs. And when I learned Hebrew, I had the same thing, that the transliteration was just incomprehensible to me.
Do you find it easier to read the hieroglyphs than the transliteration? Or?
No, I have to translate the transliteration. Yeah, it's just, I have to do my own version of the transliteration, like E for the J, the mistake you made earlier, because for me, J sounds like a jangja. Yeah. But teachers just don't realize this, that there's so many different hurdles to get to, and if anyone needs to know this, they won't. But apart from me, it took me a long time to work out what suffix meant, and that means ending. Right. So it's not prefix, it's suffix. No, thanks for calling that out. I always tend to, unfortunately, err on the side of assuming, oh, everybody knows this, but no, you're right. Had to learn that too at some point. So you're right. These are suffix because, they're glued onto a word. They cannot stand by themselves. I think that's the main thing. They're not like independent pronouns that could just be their own thing in the sentence and live separately. They always are glued to something, and that's why they're called suffix pronouns. So no, thanks, that's a great call out. And yeah, I agree with you. This is a lot to take in. Part of why I'm going through it quickly is because I had it in the homework, but I thought we should at least go over it in the session. If somebody didn't see the homework, if this is completely new, if you don't know it for Middle Egyptian or Late Egyptian, spend some time with these tables. If you want to, let me know and I can send another exercise out on them. The homework I did get back on them, pretty much everybody got it right. So I think we're doing pretty well. But that being said, if somebody feels like they need more practice on this, glad to put a few more exercises together. Or we may also have something from Christian that we could leverage from his old course that covers that area. Because yeah, it takes some getting used to, no doubt. Cool. Well, with that being said, let's go through the homework real quick, if you guys agree. I think the easiest way how to do this would be, again, like as usual, one person, one sentence, and we'll just do it in transcription. That would be the easiest way, I think. The first sentence, the first exercise was for warm-up, identify if it's singular or plural, and then convert it into the plural if it's singular, or convert it into singular if it was the plural. And yeah, let's just do that in transcription. So yeah, who wants the first one? So maybe we start with what does it actually say on the page in Egyptian?
The crocodile.
All right. The crocodile, as simple as that. You're absolutely right. How would you transliterate that?
P, capital A. Oh, you started already. Okay. P,
Sorry,
capital A.
Give the first part away.
M,
Yep,
S, capital H.
that's right.
H dot, excuse me. H dot.
Either is fine. And if you want to write or not write the W, I left it out in this case because it doesn't have one in Middle Egyptian, just like you did. If you wrote it, I wouldn't say it's a mistake. Okay, and how do we make that plural?
Na. Mesu.
That's right. Probably na mesechu, something like this.
Mesu.
Now, if you had said na en meschu, would be fine as well. Either are fine. This is more early late Egyptian, and the way you had it is more like the more common form, later late Egyptian. So yeah, well done. Excellent. Who wants the next one?
Sorry, can you just say that the whole thing again? The crocodile.
Okay, so pa mesech. Mesech is crocodile. So pa
Yeah,
mesech.
it's the word. I want to hear you say it.
Oh, okay. It's probably actually something like msech, just based on the Coptic. I'm assuming the stress goes on the second syllable. So pamsech, maybe. Yeah, that's as good as we can get it, not knowing the vowels. A normal Egyptological pronunciation would be pa mesech. I mean, that's what people typically would do, because we tend to put the stress on the first syllable, no matter where it may have gone in reality. Very good. Who wants the next one?
Yeah.
All right.
I can.
Mustafa, it's yours.
Na en remech en kemet.
Okay. I'll just take it the way you said it. Na en remech en kemet. All right.
Maybe M of remech should be in parentheses. I don't know.
That is fair because it's never written. Yeah. Or practically never.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's make it, well, what is it? Singular, plural?
Actually, I think na and here is a for demonstrative pronoun. I don't know.
The plural article, yes.
Na
Mhm.
Plural article. Okay.
Mhm.
Then people of Egypt.
Mhm.
Those people of Egypt.
Or simply the people of Egypt, the Egyptians, because at this point in time, it doesn't have a demonstrative character anymore. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, because it is a little bit weird to sing article and genitive adjective together.
Do you mean with the N afterwards?
I mean, first na and
Oh, yeah, you're right. Maybe like more like na remech and kemet. Yeah, also good. I'm not sure. I think I've seen that, but either way.
But we can keep it like this too. Nar image and Kemet would also be fine. Mhm. And let's make that, how do you make it the Egyptian, singular?
Paremeç Enkemet.
That's right. That would be all there is to it. There was a question, could it be Pasa in Kemet, like the man of Egypt? I think it could. I was going for image simply because Rem and Kimi in Coptic becomes like a standing term. It means Egyptian as in like the nationality, so to say, or the people. So I'm projecting that back into pharaonic times. And actually, I must admit, I'm not sure if it was used the exact same way, but that was in my head when I put the fragment together. So let's say Naremich, or whatever the plural was, in Kemit, and singular then Paremich and Kemit. Well done.
And the determinative at the end, that's like an emoticon for land or country, isn't it?
You mean the very one at the very end? That's
Yes.
a city. Mhm. You can imagine it like
One of a city.
Go again.
I mean, it is the city profile of the city.
Correct. Just like
Or
one cross street in the
road.
middle.
It's interesting
correct.
that it's a city, even though we're talking about a place, a larger place, Upper and Lower Egypt.
You're right. It goes on a lot of geographical terms. So not just cities, but on a lot of things that denote geography, would have that little city at the end. So yeah, it's just
There's some
yeah.
I was going to say there's some recent word that's out that says that the city determinative may be crossing water canals.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that. I always thought it was like a cross.
I'll get the paper and I'll post it in the group.
Oh, that's very cool. I never knew that.
Yeah, actually, the sign, nude sign, using for more inside of cities that are inside of Egypt.
Right.
If we look at outside of Egypt, for example, Babylon or Hittite, Babylon, Hittite, or Byblos, mostly they are using with N25.
Yeah.
Hill, Desert Hill.
This one. Yep. Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, because for something like civilized world and not
probably you're
barbarians.
Right. Barbarians versus civilized people, in other words, Egyptian. Definitely. Yeah. There's that strong difference between our land and foreign lands. Like actually pretty much all cultures have, or at least originally.
Actually, there is a version of barbarian. As I remember, something like Jar Jar.
In Egyptian? Oh, cool. I have to look that one up. I don't know that one. Jar Jar, yeah? That's funny. Okay, cool. Let's do the next one.
Yeah.
Number 3. Somebody I haven't heard from yet. Any volunteers? Don't make me pick on people.
I can try.
All right.
I'll let Dave go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I think it says Nasen, Senu, I guess, and then it's Henna, and the Na, maybe this would be Senut, the last one. With someone, some not written all the letters, but
or however you want to. Actually, there is a nu there, so like this maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which means the brother and the brothers and the sisters.
You got it. And how do you make it singular?
I would say pasen, hena, ta, senet.
That's right. Perfect. And I didn't explain it, but a lot of you know it already anyways. Oh no, I had it explained. Hena basically is used to coordinate nouns, to basically say to A together with B. There are a few words like this that mean with in Late Egyptian. I can think of at least 3. And Hena certainly is the oldest one, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, normally used to coordinate nouns. All right, well done. And let's do the last one.
I can take it.
All right, go for it.
Pa necher, hena, ta necheret.
Like this. And I
Yep.
have no idea what's going on with my fonts here. It doesn't want to. Okay, whatever. All right, awesome. Meaning?
The god and the goddess, or the god together with the goddess.
Very, very correct. Yes.
And then the plural, I mean, I guess you could just make it more concise and just say na necheru, because otherwise it would just be na necheru, hena na necheru. Or sorry, hana na necheru.
That's a good question. I think Alvaro, you had found it lost as Netcherut in Ramses. I saw that in the homework. I've also seen it as Netcherayet, like this. I think either could be true. Because yeah, it's sometimes hard to say from the spelling how was it actually pronounced. But yeah, thanks very much. That is 100% correct. And I guess I'll fix the formatting later. Or does this work now? Give me a quick moment. Ah, finally, that looks better. So things to call out from what I saw on the homework. Na en only works with the plural. So it could be na en remech, it could be na en necero, but it could not be pa en or ta en. So that's an easy mistake to make. But yeah, that can only be added in the plural. There was a question somebody had asked for the genitive. Is it always en, or do you still have like a Middle Egyptian, sometimes nu and net for like plural and female, a singular? I would never say never, but from everything I've seen in Late Egyptian, like real Late Egyptian, not classical Egyptian written in Late Egyptian times, it's always en from what I've seen. So you don't have to worry about changing the genitive to match the gender of the word you're referring to anymore. It's always a straight en, just like in Coptic. So well done. Let's take a quick look at how that would have been in hieroglyphs. Okay, down here I forgot the plural strokes, but basically it shouldn't be too surprising. So na mesehu, what did I do? Put the article and put the plural strokes. For the man of Egypt, I just changed it to pa and took off the plural strokes. For the brother and the sister, just like you guys said, the singular spelling of the word. And then for the gods, well, I had 2 choices here. Necheru is easy. You could, for example, just spell it this way with 3 times the god glyph and then the plural strokes. That's one possible way. For the female version, the goddesses, I had it, well, that was the way that it was on Ramses online. So Necheret, just add the plural strokes. I've seen this a lot also with the extra double reed leaf in there. So I put that as an alternative as well. Okay, great. I'm looking at the clock. I think we'll be able to finish up the homework, but unfortunately, I think the first present may have to come next time. Nonetheless, let's go through those real quick. I think it's worth it. This one was from an interesting text called Truth and Lie. It's another tale. Also called The Blinding of Truth. There are a few different translations. So the son of truth actually here complaining or coming back from school and talking to his mother about what happened there. Basically, he says, they, namely the other kids, say to me, well, what do they actually say? So who could take those 2?
I can take it.
All right.
Okay, so he says Su cheni payak itef.
Oops, it's not Russian. Hang on. My bad. I got as far as Su, Jenny, yeah, and then? Oh,
It was payak itef,
that's right. Oh,
which
did I
means
hear
where's
F?
your father? Huh?
Yeah. No F at the end of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That means where's your father?
That's right. Where's your father? And then his mother said to him, see that blind man sitting over there beside the door.
That's payak it pai.
That's right. Perfect.
Well, this is your father.
That is right. It's just a straight, this is your father, straight nominal sentence. Okay. Maybe we'll get to that tale as we get a little bit further along. What I was thinking is as we pick up with a real book, I think in probably about 2 sessions, maximum 3. We can also do some short reading sections in there with like paragraphs from real texts. That being said, yeah, 100% correct. Su, teni, or tenu, same thing. Paik it, pai. Let me put the translation as well, the way you had it. Where's my father? Wait, they say, where is your father? Your father is this, or this is your father, or that is your father. So some of you had this or that in your translations. Either would be okay.
Sounds like a very, very sad story.
At least it starts out that way. I mean, obviously something has happened. If the kid grows up without knowing who his father is, and generally, I mean, yeah, blind people, it's a bit more tricky. These were different times, right? So yeah, you're right. The story starts out with some kind of injustice, and how that's being rectified is going to be later.
Aurelio.
Yes, sir.
I was going to say, I don't know if it may help too if we also give the literal translation along with it.
Okay, so what did you have in mind?
So, for example, well, you have the Su.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just say set chenu? I mean, I know it's being extra. Not set. I'm sorry. Se chenu pa ekitef.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying make it
like he, like the he. Where is your father?
That's right. I mean, that's how you actually construct it. He, where your father, right? That's
right.
That's how
and
you.
Then this,
That's helpful. That's helpful.
That's great. Yeah, you're right. And then for the other one, it would be basically your father, this essentially, right? So that's how you literally do it. That's true. Good call out.
It's also rhetorically interesting when you put it like that. It feels very different. Here's where your father, he's there.
Right. True. Although, truth be told, I mean, this is the standard way how to construct it. It's not like it's not like in English we could do this, right? Like, where is he, your father? But what the Egyptian equivalent, the equivalent to the Egyptian would be is, where's your father? So it's not, if you wanted to emphasize it, there are ways how to do it, but this wouldn't be it. So, but still, to learn the language, what Christopher said makes perfect sense, like to break it down the way it's actually written. Just don't mistake it for like some special kind of emphasis or something. They have their own way how to do that. Cool, very good, great. Any questions on what we had so far? If not, let's do the remaining 2 exercises. This one here, essentially, I didn't give this one as a homework. Jet and Hamef and Sen, although a lot of things you'll already recognize. You'll recognize the word to say, jet, right? And then F you already know is the little suffix pronoun for his. So said His Majesty. N is the dative. Dative and genitive look the same. Congratulations. So there's a little bit of ambiguity there, but en sen basically is to them. But now, what did he say to them, though? I need somebody for the sentence in blue. Any takers?
I can try.
Go for it.
So it will be set cheni nai ten senu.
That is correct.
So where are your brothers?
That is right. So yeah, where are your brothers? And that's it. And again, literally, it's, if we want to do it that way, it is they were, namely your brothers, equals where are your brothers? All right. So as you guys have seen, is there is no to be in late Egyptian or Middle Egyptian, at least not for the present tense. You just basically say it the way that it's expressed here. Not sure.
Has he killed the brothers?
I don't think so. But honestly, I don't know the context. This one, I think I took somewhere out of Neveu. Have to look up the original story.
It just sounds so threatening.
Sounds ominous. Where are they? It would be a pity if something happened to them. I don't think in this case. Although I did set you up for that and with the previous one. Somebody translated it as siblings in the homework. And I think that could be correct, at least depending on context, especially when it's like spelled with man, woman at the end. That being said, that's not always a reliable indicator. Sometimes they just habitually write like man, woman, if they just mean people. I wouldn't rely on it when in doubt, context. Very good.
So we could say, where are your homeboys?
Exactly. Why not? Depends on the context, I guess. All right, and the last one, that's always the trickiest one. Let's go from English to Egyptian. I had 4 examples there, and I think you guys did well, those who sent the homework in at least. So yeah, if I could get those real quick. First one was the letter is on the bed. I did not give you the gender of the letter and the bed, but does anybody want to take a guess? Just from the way that
Probably feminine.
it is. The first one is feminine, so it has a little T at the end, and luckily in this case, that is a reliable, well, not a reliable, but it's the correct indicator. And the other one?
I think it's a dual. No.
It could be because of the T,
Yeah.
right? But it isn't.
Just masculine, I presume. Oh.
That's right. It's a straight masculine noun. So nothing special about it, even though it looks kind of funky with that T at the end. That's true. All right. And what would the whole sentence become?
It would be Shatherpa Hati.
Almost. It's the letter.
Well, then it will be Cha Shatherpa Hati.
You got it. So Tasha, and you said I think her, pa, and then Hati, right?
Yes.
And that would be 100% right. Awesome. If it were under the bed,
So for it, I just took set.
oops, that sounds good. I was trying to be lazy here, but that didn't work. Okay, so you said you took set, and that is one, that is absolutely right. Set. Yeah, and it's not her, but it is.
So I can't currently read my my transliteration, but it's like I think it's H with the line underneath.
That's right. So H bar, yeah.
Yeah. So
And then her.
yeah, her.
Perfect. It's actually spelled with an extra Y.
Heri.
I'm going to leave that out because I don't think it's really pronounced. So set pachati. You got it. Awesome.
And then for number 3, it's set D.
All right, let's finish this up. That's right. Want to do the last one as well?
Sure. It's ta ber her na icheru.
Yep. Or at least that's what I had in mind when I asked for it. And then I thought, you know what? Is that her actually correct? And then I looked it up. It just cycled through all the sentences I could find in Ramses online, and actually it seems to be Herdep. So
Ah,
sorry about that. I was thinking the exact same thing when that you said, when it just sounded right.
yeah.
But when I actually looked for it, let me show you that real quick. Prepositions are always the trickiest things in any language because they never fall the same way. And lo and behold, there's a sentence here. There is no boat on the river, different word for boat. Men, there is not. Menishnib, any boat or boat any. Herdep, on top of itiru. So I guess that's what I should have used. Well, learn something new. So when in doubts with prepositions, especially looking for things on Ramses or any corpus of text is really useful. All right, but very well done. And the homework what people sent in, I saw sometimes there were no articles on there yet. And it's easy because especially if you learn Middle Egyptian, you're so used to you don't need articles. In Late Egyptian, they're pretty much de rigueur. You will find them on most nouns. Only exception, there are some cases when you use a noun in the absolute sense, which we haven't covered yet, but that happens, for example, when you remember the sentence Chisimpai, it's a dog. You don't say wa Chisimpai or something, you don't put an article, but in that case, you use the noun in the absolute. There are a few more cases like this, but I would say like 95, if not more, +% of the time, you're either going to see a definite article or indefinite article in front of the noun in Middle Egyptian, or a possessive or demonstrative or something else. Another thing that came up in somebody's homework was, hang on, it was the word for it. It is su or set. Here for a female noun, it would be a bit more classical. It would be said, just like you had it. It wouldn't be, I think, normally Thai. I think somebody had Thai. You wouldn't see that commonly. It would just be su or sit. Okay, well, very well done. Any more questions on the homework? If not, then we finished right on the hour. Next week, then we'll be adverbial sentences with the first present. Sorry, I put too much into the session as usual, but well, I think we should be in good shape there. Let me know if you guys want another homework set for the pronouns. If anybody wants it, ping me. I can look something up and send it. Otherwise, I would say no homework this week, just so that we can get a little bit further with this topic next time. And yeah, I'd leave it at that then. Thanks so much, everybody, and see you in a week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
See you
you.
next week.
Have a great
Thank you very
carnival
much.
week for everyone who celebrates.
Have a good one.